What's up, Marvel fans? I'm Steven from the Hills Maniacs, and I don't know about you, but I am actually really excited about the new Marvel Disney Plus series, Daredevil Born Again. I was a big fan of the Netflix Daredevil series, where it had Vincent D'Onofrio as Kingpin and Charlie Cox as Matt Murdock. And a lot of people really wanted to see him come back as the character. He first reappeared in the MCU in Spider-Man No Way Home as Peter's lawyer that got him sort of out of trouble or tried to get him out of trouble or whatever. And that was just a quick cameo. We didn't really see him suit up as Daredevil or anything. But then they announced that they're doing a Daredevil series, or I guess technically it's a reboot or a brand new series within the MCU, but it's also a kind of a season 4 for the Daredevil Netflix series because all the original cast are coming back and everything else. And I guess they are saying those events are canon to the MCU now as well. But after seeing the trailer for this series, my hype level went through the roof. I think a lot of people are really excited for this series as well. So that's why today I'm going to be talking about why I think the new Daredevil Born Again series is probably going to be Marvel's best series that they've done so far. First of all, one thing I really enjoyed about the Daredevil Netflix series was how grounded and dark it was. It didn't feel like your traditional superhero sort of TV series or movie even that we've gotten to see, especially from Marvel, where a lot of their shows and movies and everything have a lot of comedic moments in them and are more funny. The banter between the heroes and that kind of thing, especially with the Avengers and Guardians of the Galaxy and everything else. So seeing that kind of series, even though it wasn't directly tied in with the MCU initially, I think that's what made it stand out compared to all the other projects that Marvel was doing at the time and even are still doing on Disney Plus. And I'm glad that they seem to be bringing that back for Daredevil Born Again, because if they had changed it in any way or made this any different from the Netflix series, I don't think people would have liked that as much. We did see Daredevil again in the MCU in the She-Hulk series, and that was more of a comedy. I did a video on that a while back on why I felt it kind of ruined his character, but may not have, depending on how this series goes. But seeing him in that light, in a comedy series versus this kind of show where it's going to be this dark and gritty tone again, I think it's going to work really well. And I personally think a lot of these superhero movies and stuff need that kind of dark and more grounded tone to make everything feel more realistic and to be more relatable for us as the audience and for the viewers. When the characters are struggling with things, that makes them feel like just regular people like you and I versus being this super-powered being that nobody can touch. If the hero isn't struggling with their own morals and that sort of thing, and they never learn a lesson from their actions or anything like that, then what's the point? That makes it feel more of a fantasy, which obviously it is. These are fictional stories, but the characters behaving like that and learning something from it in these more grounded stories, I think is what makes a lot of movies really stand out and makes some of them more iconic and Oscar worthy and everything else. And I think that can work in a superhero show or movie or whatever. And it worked really well in the original Daredevil Netflix series, and I think that it's going to work really well here on this new Born Again series as well. I also like too that every character seems to have their own morals and that are coming into question and stuff with every choice that they make. Matt Murdock, throughout the original Netflix series, he was, I guess he was Catholic or whatever, so he was a little bit religious, but he's also got this dark side to him, obviously, because he's Daredevil, So he's this vigilante, and he takes justice into his own hands, but he kind of questions that as well. Are his actions ruining his relationships with his friend and all that sort of stuff? And it gets him questioning everything he's doing. Is this worth it? That kind of stuff. He's always coming home banged up and bruised and everything because he's getting into fights. And even trying to keep that side of himself a secret from even his closest friends, I think is a real struggle as well. And I think that's more impactful because of that dark tone that I mentioned, or the more grounded aspects of the show where it comes off more genuine and everything, he is concerned about those kind of things. And I hope that that's another thing that they bring back for this series as well, where Matt has to struggle with every choice that he makes, and it looks like he's going to align himself with Kingpin in this series to take down whatever vigilante is roaming the streets or whatever in this series, because Kingpin also needs him off the streets, I guess, because he's the mayor of New York in this one. So I kind of like that dynamic as well, where these two, the villain and hero have to coincide together to take down a common enemy. It'd be like if Batman and the Joker teamed up type of thing. We saw how much damage Kingpin and Daredevil caused each other in especially like season 2 and 3 or whatever of the original Netflix series. And we saw what kind of man Kingpin is and what kind of man Matt is. So to see them two have to work together, I think is going to be really interesting. And that again calls into question, Matt's morals. Like, he doesn't want to do this, but he maybe feels like he has to. I think that's going to make the show work really well. That's going to be one of the interesting aspects of the show that I'm kind of looking forward to more than anything else. I also like that this show is still going to show us a look at more of the like street level villains. That's what the original Netflix series did, as well as all those other Defenders shows and stuff like Jessica Jones and everything. We got to look at the more grounded villains versus, you see in the Avengers and all that, you get the aliens and all that kind of stuff. Whereas this gives us a look at what the streets, especially of New York City and everything, and even Hell's Kitchen, where Matt is from, obviously, we get a look at those kind of villains and it's just the street thugs and everything else. That's the kind of people that Spider-Man normally fights. He's the friendly neighborhood Spider-Man, so he's always taking down crooks and that kind of thing. And that's the same thing that Matt Murdock fights. And Kingpin, of course, is the worst of the worst of those people. So I think this is going to be a nice way to tie in with like the Young Avengers, like with Kate Bishop and Miss Marvel and all them. They're going to be like the street level Avengers that maybe have to take down Kingpin or something. So getting to see that there is more to the world than all this, the space villains and all that kind of stuff like Thanos and all the aliens that they've fought and all the mystical stuff like Doctor Strange fights, I think that really adds more to the MCU. And I hope that we get to see more of that going forward, not just in Daredevil, but any of the other upcoming series and stuff as well. With all this multiverse stuff they've had going on and everything the last couple of years, I think it's confusing a lot of people. So this is a nice change of pace if they go the route of showing more of these street-level villains and heroes and things to kind of bring us back down to earth just a little bit. And it starts here in Daredevil Born Again, as it did on the original Daredevil Netflix series. And one last thing that I hope they bring back from the original Netflix series that I think will really make this Marvel's best show compared to all the other ones, and even probably some of its movies as well. That's all the fight scenes, the way the fight scenes were portrayed in the Netflix series and everything else. It was sometimes in these dark hallways and you couldn't really see what was going on, but it wasn't just Matt is winning all the fights, but he's getting banged up, he's getting injured, almost on the brink of death in like every fight that he's in. And I think we need to see more of that to see that he really doesn't have superpowers, other than like he can hear better and that sort of stuff. Because he's blind, his other senses are heightened, but he is just a normal guy who's trying to do good in the world, I guess. And I think just the fight scenes alone are going to attract more people to watch it, because it's not going to feel like a traditional superhero movie or show, like I said before, but it's going to feel more like one of those like action movies or spy thriller kind of things that a lot of people really enjoy. And that's kind of what, like Captain America the Winter Soldier did. It was this more grounded movie set in the superhero world, and I felt like that's what made that movie stand out compared to all the other ones. That's why it's one of my favorite movies and one of the MCU's best, because it did all that. It had amazing fight scenes and the stakes were high and everything else. And I think that in every fight that Matt is in, the stakes are always really high. I think that adds a layer to his character and also makes every fight scene important or feel more special than just some CGI battles that we've gotten accustomed to over the years with all these latest Marvel projects and stuff. It's not two CGI people blasting lasers and stuff at each other. These are real punches and that kind of stuff being thrown in every fight scene, and I hope that they bring that back and keep that up, going forward, not just in Daredevil, but in the MCU as well, because I think that makes it feel more realistic. And that's kind of what we want out of especially this show, because it portrays the character of Matt Murdock and Daredevil really well by showing all that, showing the way he fights, his fight style, everything else. But let me know what you guys think. What are you looking forward to the most about Daredevil Born Again? Do you think it's going to live up to how good the original Daredevil Netflix series was? Let me know all that down in the comments section. Also, be sure to like this video and subscribe for more, and check out all the other Marvel content we have going up this year as well. There's a lot of stuff coming out for Marvel this year, so I plan on talking about all of it. But thank you for watching the video, everyone, and I'll see you in the next one.